Damn me and that muted mic business. Ugh. All right. So, now that my mic is on. Yeah. It's so weird. I do hate the weird lag because I can like see if I'm watching through the YouTube dashboard, I can see what I did like 5 seconds ago. There's about a 5-second lag. so yeah, I'll be talking and switch over and see that, and I'm like, something doesn't seem right. But anyway, yeah, as I was saying, good morning, lovely people. We got Sean O'Neill in the chat. I figure we'll probably get a couple other folks pop into the chat before too long. Gina's been pretty regular lately, and we'll see her pop in at some point, I'm sure. Anyway, yeah, I actually have Gina on Messenger. She's like, yeah, I'll be there as soon as possible. Yeah, she's coming. She's funny. She's funny. So, Roman, hey, there he is. There he is. All right. Got a couple of the regulars in here. So, yeah, as I started off, one of these days, well, probably this weekend, actually, I'm going to sit down and streamline some things in my setup, because I'm pretty sure there's some things I can do that will cause the mic to open up automatically when I start like talking. I don't know. I try to keep the mic muted at the beginning, so I'm not like, I like having the music bed. I like the way that runs up, and but then I forget to unmute my damn mic because I'm a numbnut. So, but that's okay. Sean O'Neill says trying to get some friends in here, but they're all on the West Coast. Yeah, I'm really tempted to change this stream to later in the day. I don't know. Like, it's so hard because it's really hard to make that call. I know there's lots of folks in different parts of the world who probably would dig, being able to hop on, be in the chat and see things live and do all that kind of stuff. But doing it first thing in the morning is sort of the most convenient for me right now. I don't know. I'm actually tempted to shift it to right after lunch. So it'd be, running around 1 p.m. from like 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. And, if any of you folks are watching or listening who are regulars, if any of you guys have a comment on that, let me know, because you guys who are the regulars are the ones who are here already. So I'm definitely going to like listen to you guys first and foremost, because, you guys are supporting and being super cool. Yeah, as I was saying, yeah, good morning, lovely people. It is Friday, and Friday is always a happy moment because it means Saturday's coming. Saturday is coming. So, and I tend to take the weekends to, I was saying, as I was muted, on the weekends I try not to work, though what I do for work is stuff that I love. So on the weekends I end up doing a lot of it anyway, but it's without the pressures of, it's without the pressures of the deadlines and the scheduling and all that stuff. And it's much more freeform, artiste time, where I just kind of explore things. And the weekends are usually when I end up tinkering, which I love to tinker. That's probably something I should talk about sometime, is the value of tinkering and exploring, because it's tinkering and exploring that kind of lets me learn a lot of programs very easily, and techniques and things. But on the weekends, I tend to give myself some time to just tinker and fiddle around and play with stuff. But I also really value my weekends to get out and go hiking or do some kayaking. Just get the hell away from this desk, because, I'm here a lot and I really need the time away from it. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah, it is Friday. That means Saturday's coming, and I am happy about that. So yeah, I see some folks kind of in agreement with that about the weekends and all that stuff. I mean, I get it. You know, when I was younger, I worked from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep a lot, and without long periods. We're talking months at a time with not even a day for a break. I did that a lot, and it it had its utility, but it also takes a toll. So I'm a little more careful about it now. So anyway, what are we doing this morning? Well, as you can see, I titled this stream "Where Do We Go From Here?" or "Where to Go From Here," and that's kind of where my head is at. I'm like, on a number of levels, I'm like, what am I gonna do loft this morning? What am I gonna be sketching or sculpting this morning? Also, there's the question of thinking about changing the time frame that I do the stream from, stuff like that. I've been doing this for a few weeks now, and I'm seeing some moderate growth and some folks watch it, and all that's cool. So I don't know. I feel like I'm probably going to keep it at this time of day for now, but don't be surprised if in the future I maybe start looking at some stuff and decide on a better time. I don't know. We'll see. Still trying to figure things out. I mean, I'm still, half the time the first 2 minutes I'm on, the mic's still muted. So, we're taking baby steps. It's not a big deal. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. All right. So I'm thinking, this morning, let's go ahead and pop over to ZBrush. Since I'm having a little brain fog this morning, I stayed up a little too late, and I think I'm also a little disaffected because I left a print running on the resin printer on the new printer last night. That was something I was really excited about, and at about 85% through, maybe 90% through, it failed, and that's like a print fail inside the first 10% is bad. It's sad, but it's like, okay, cool. It stopped before it wasted a whole lot of resin. But it still didn't waste a whole lot of resin. I mean, we're not talking about a lot of material here. We're talking about, like $1.30's worth of resin. But man, it's such a cool sculpt. It's such a cool piece. And I know why it failed. When I did the setups on it last night, I thought, okay, this should work. But part of me said, no, you need more supports in that area. You need to do some more supports. But it was late, I was tired, and I probably shouldn't even been doing it. Should have just put a pin in it and waited. Whatevs. It happens. So I got a failed print. That's a bummer to start off your day with. So, anywho, let's since I'm kind of blanking a little bit on something to riff on this morning, I figured we would take a look at these the Z-Sphere starters that are in ZBrush, and maybe I don't know, maybe pick one of those to roll with a little bit. Let's see. Sean, oh no, what happened? Yeah, dude. There was a piece that I was doing that I might do a video on it at some point. I don't know. We'll see. But it was a piece that's this really cool thing that it's a piece that my son worked on with me a long time ago of it's like a dire wasp. It's this giant wasp that is ridden by a goblin, and it's flying. It's got this nice base it's like this cloud structure underneath it, and it's probably about a 6-inch tall mini, and that's scaled for D&D. Like it's the goblin on it is properly scaled for D&D, and the whole thing still ends up being like 6 inches tall. It's a real showpiece. But there's just a lot of undercuts in it and a lot of weird spots that I was just listening to a guy yesterday who I really like and have learned a lot from, who was talking about, oh, artists need to think about this, and you need to think about that, and and he's talking about a lot of constraints artists need to put themselves under for doing things for resin printing. And I get it, and I appreciate knowing those things. And sometimes, a lot of times, I do keep those things in mind. But there are moments when I'm like, okay, look, this idea, this shape, this thing is just too cool. Constraints be damned. We'll go with more supports. We'll figure it out. If I have to, if in the course of creating a print, creating a piece like that, I have, it's like if I have a choice between practicality, practical functionality, and how badass the piece is. Sorry, we're going badass. We're going badass every time. Every single time. I'm not in this to dumb my stuff down. I shouldn't say it that way. I'm not in this to allow the constraints of the medium to turn what I'm doing into something mediocre. Okay? I'm not. I'm absolutely not. I'll scrap a whole piece before I let that happen. I would rather. It's one of the reasons why the store, which I was just one of the reasons I was up late last night, was I was testing some new store software, because I'm getting ready to launch a store where you can buy hand pulled prints from me, and that's part of the thing, is that it'll be hand pulled prints by the artist, each one checked, each one set up, checked, and pulled from the resin by the artist. I'll probably sign all of them on the bottom too, as much as I can, or at least on the small ones, probably initial and stuff like that. But I want there to be this real. I want my stuff to be as over the top as I can make it. I want it to be special. I talked a little bit the other day about using Hero Forge for starters. And I talked a little bit about using Hero Forge to start off stuff with, or to make stuff. And Hero Forge is a great resource. But it and a number of other things out there, like there's a style that you see in a lot of minis, which is cool. And it's a little less detail. It's kind of scaled down for the size and all that stuff. And I want to push the boundaries of that, especially with the quality level that you can get from resin. You can get things from resin that you can't get from injection molded minis. So I tend to push my designs, like the dragon you see behind me. The tail on that's pretty wild. There's some stuff on that's pretty wild to do as a print. And actually, what I'll show you. This is a small version. This is way small. This is like at like a quarter of the size this thing should be. Okay, this is a shot of what I was printing last night. But this is, like, you can see based on my fingers there how small this is. This is just a tiny little test version. So really, that goblin in what I was trying to print, that goblin is like the size of this halfling here. Okay. And that's a halfling that was put together through all kinds of stuff at Hero Forge. And Hero Forge is pretty awesome. You got a lot of options there you can choose from, and there's lots of ways to customize it. Super cool. But this goblin, the goblin on this wasp, was really supposed to be, like the whole thing should be big enough that goblin is about the size of that halfling. And you can't even see the stuff on this tiny print here, but it sits in the bed, like it comes off of the build plate, pulls this out of the resin like this. And where the fail happened is, where the fail happened was right about here, right from about here down. So like it cut off right at the middle of the guy. So it got all this cool stuff back here. You got all the wings, like this, some of the stuff that I was actually most concerned that wouldn't even print or that would fail, it actually got. but then the front of it. And there's two things that happened. One, I think I had some bad supports or not enough supports in the goblin himself. And then two, and again, it was late and I was tired. I didn't check my resin vat to make sure that I had it filled, like really, really filled. I thought, oh, there's definitely enough resin in there to do this. And I don't think there was, because there's some stuff that ended up just like it just went down, didn't touch anything. There was no, and yeah, so it was a bunch of numbnut stuff on my part. It happens, I'm not going to beat myself up over it. But, lessons learned. So, anywho, yeah. So I'm going down rabbit holes with that. So let's get into doing some actual artwork this morning. Sean says, sounds cool. I was thinking about minis last night. I'm wondering if 3D printing is going to finish off the miniature industry. Got me thinking about what happened to Raul Partha. Sean, your stuff is much more detailed than any of the metal minis they did, even more so than the original Master Sculpts. Well, thanks, man. I remember, using a lot of Raul Partha stuff when I was a kid, and into my teens and early 20s. I think that resin printing and 3D printing is definitely changing the world of miniatures and gaming quite a bit, and I think changing it for the better. I do know Reaper Miniatures has this whole line called Reaper Bones that are, if I'm not mistaken, they're actually just 3D printed, like in the factory. Like they have a big warehouse or something full of printers, and they're printing these, and because they're getting things in those minis that I know you can't get from normal old school injection molding. And that's kind of cool. I think it's interesting that opens up. You got to think that if the stuff becomes available, if the stuff's available for the small studio home shop kind of scenario, well, then it's also available. I mean, like you could buy 20 or 30 of the machine that I just got to, if you've got a business scale budget, you could sink, $20,000, which $20,000 sounds like a lot of money, but in the course of starting, a business, it's really not. You could sink 20 grand into printers and end up with, buy yourself like 15 to 20 printers on that and a ton of resin, and you're up and running with a high volume shop that could turn out a lot of stuff. So I think Reaper has done something like that on a much larger scale than that with Reaper Bones, and probably getting a lot of stuff wholesale. There's all kinds of stuff when you're starting to buy things at levels, all kinds of ways that you can break that. But yeah, Reaper Bones has some super cool stuff like that. I think there's others who are doing that. And then also, like for me, it opens up the opportunity to break down the middlemen. Sadly, the stores miss out on some of the stuff, but it's the way of the future. Sorry, guys. It breaks it down between stores, between middlemen, distributors, all that kind of stuff, where you've got Patreon subscriptions, lots of artists now popping up doing Patreon, where you can just subscribe and get STLs that you'll print for yourself, or you can just buy the prints. Some of them, not a lot of them, are actually printing them themselves and offering. Most of them are just offering STLs that you'll print yourself. And I get that, which I'm probably going to do. I might do. I don't know. But I'm more interested in offering actual prints that I pull myself as the artist. So, like they're artist checked, they're like, I did it, I made it. And it's kind of like on my comics. There's a couple guys I know at my publisher who joke that, Les would come print the damn things himself if he could. And I would. I mean, like on my comics, I write, pencil, ink, letter, color, and I do painted covers on them. I do all of it on my minis, my collectibles. I kind of want to do all of it. I'll offer them unpainted, and then I'll offer some that are painted, because I want to take all of that stuff and make it as much a holistic piece of art as I can. I feel like there's a way now with all the technology and everything that I, as an artist and a creator, can bridge this giant divide there used to be. It used to be that the artist had to create their work and then had to depend on this giant apparatus of people between them and the eventual consumer, the audience who enjoys that work. There was this huge gulf of distributors and managers and business people and all this kind of stuff in between. There doesn't have to be that anymore. Not by a damn sight. So, and all that, every layer of that gets introduced between the artist and the consumer introduces cost. So by the time the stuff gets to the consumer, 3/4 of what they're paying doesn't even go to the person who created that work that they're interested in. 3/4 of that money is ended up going to all the different middlemen that have a hand in the stew. So I really like this new thing that's come about, that it's like I've gotten to play a role in for so long, and I feel like there's a lot of things with digital art, with the internet, now with production, with small scale production, boutique production, and things like this, that allows an artist like me to reach directly to people and offer things very directly, very personally, with the care and quality that I want everything that my name goes on to have. So that's kind of that's the stamp I want on all of this stuff. Things that I do might not be the cheapest. I think actually it's going to be pretty comparable to like stuff you might buy off the shelf, maybe a little cheaper. A lot of times a little cheaper. But I want to keep it. It's like I feel like there's by having those middlemen gone, I can have a competitive price point and yet still provide that direct experience. Like I want folks to be able to talk directly to me. For maybe if somebody sees something in my catalog and says, yeah, I'd like that, but I wonder if I could get it in a different pose. Well, talk to me. Maybe we could work something out. That sort of thing. So. Oh yeah, Sean says there's a lot of options to self-publish today. There's a self-published book on Amazon right now. It's their number 3 bestseller. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, and like in books, self-publishing there. One of my favorite musicians out right now is completely independent of the entire music industry, and it's wild what the dude has done. It's amazing. I'm not going to drop any names on it because it's like I'm just not. But yeah, dude's unseated some heavy hitters out there in mainstream music, and it's completely independent. And I'm like, you go, buddy, you go. Independent comics, man, through Kickstarter and Indiegogo. It's like the chokehold of the major companies, Marvel and DC, and the chokehold of toy companies like Hasbro. Like I think Hasbro owns what, WizKids, or not WizKids, Wizards of the Coast, which thus Hasbro owns D&D. Yeah, the chokehold on that stuff it's done. These mega players, there's no way they can't know it. And I think they're all just trying to pivot and roll in different ways to keep themselves relevant. And there'll always be a place for those, for a lot of the big players. But the small guy's day has come. The middlemen are no longer necessary. And that, for legit people who have made being part of the game, that made their livelihood out of that, I feel bad for them, because that time's going to be over soon. It really is over. And they're going to be out of that livelihood. And that sucks. I feel for them. But those of us on the creative side who have been screwed repeatedly by various industries for far too long, it's our time, guys. It is. It's just, it just is. It just is. And those of us who are savvy enough to grab that by the cojones and run with it, we're kicking ass and taking names every which way. So dude, it's exciting. It's exciting. Anyway, I can yammer on about that crap for way too long. I'm going to jump into doing some artwork here, and then maybe I'll chit chat a little bit more while I'm doing some stuff. Let's grab. I really didn't know what I wanted to work on, so do I want to start with a? Let's start. See if we got some Z sphere starters here. Let's do. Let's go into this Zizu. Yeah, they got a lot more in here. These are super cool. And I really love that they have these Z sphere starters. These are so cool. Let's grab something wacky. Um, hmm. Tempted to grab that warthog and do something with that. Warthog. Yeah, let's grab the warthog. So there you've got Z spheres of that. It's pretty cool. And I'm going to get in here and do a little bit of changing around on some stuff. Go ahead and mess with some proportions. Don't really care for that, so we'll just yank that off of there. Just have that there to act as a little foot point. Mm-mm-mm. And again, I'm going to rip that right off of here. Let's swing this little fella around. Okay. Dig that. Let's make him I want to play with this a little bit just in terms of what kind of silhouette it creates. I like being able to use those Z spheres and get a good start going on something. Let's make this a little longer here. I'm going to lift that head up a little bit. Now, there we go. Okay, that's probably enough of that for now. Just to get a start on something. Just to sort of, pull some shapes out and play around with it. No, I have clients who really dig my creatures, and who knows, maybe this will turn into something that makes its way out into the world somehow. Kind of like that. think I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff and then add a bit. Rid of that. Rid of that. That way I've got a little bit more of a kind of a jaw to start with there. And this is already starting to give me some information to work with idea-wise. All right, let's go ahead and get an adaptive skin going. And I'm going to do that with Dynamesh and relatively low resolution. And let's make an adaptive skin. There we go. Pop back over here. I'm curious about something. I don't mess with this near enough. But I am thinking, if they've added to this the way I think they have, it could be super cool. So you guys getting to watch me kind of play with some, you know, explore some areas. Zbrush, you could explore Zbrush for years and still not untap every, you know, not hit everything there is in it to use. I am curious. I turn that preview. Okay, yeah, if you go into Dynamesh, you start sculpting on it, and then you want to come back out of preview mode, then it's just going to make a skin of it. So, okay, cool, yeah. I was hoping that maybe they had it set up so that those spheres are then an armature already inside the Dynamesh. But, yeah, that's not a big deal. All right, so let's take this skin, polish that up a little bit, and let's start adding some volume. I'll turn the floor off there. Go into sculptress mode. And nice large scale brush there. Come through and relax some things. And let's go to my clay buildup, the old standby. Folks who may end up watching this stuff because of all the resin talk and, you know, minis and that sort of thing may notice conspicuously that I do not sculpt my stuff posed. I tend to sculpt in a T-pose or symmetrical pose of some sort. That's because even if I'm going to use something to do a sculpt for a mini or a collectible, it's going to be, it's probably going to start out symmetrical and then get rigged somewhere. Either sometimes I'll just rig it in Daz Studio. I got some quick tricks for rigging there and just using that to pop a quick rig in, do some posing, and come back. Most of the time, it'll end up rigged in Maya, and then I'll, you know, be able to transfer details and do all kinds of wacky stuff with that. Sometimes I'll do a Z-sphere rig. It just depends on the piece. You know, different methods for different things. And there you can see why I added that Z-sphere into the bottom and pulled it around to create this jaw. It gives me a super fast way to get to a volume like that. I actually see that as a deficiency in the the provided Z-Sphere starter. It's a good starter, but I really would prefer if things had, you know, the jawline on them started, so that you can work from that much easier. I've heard people before, like, you know, say things about, you know, isn't that cheating, starting from something like that? I'm like, no, it's not. It's really not, because, you know, if you look throughout, like, the toy industry, especially toys and collectibles, they've used things called bucks forever, that are these basically mannequins, and they'll pose the mannequin and then start, you know, maybe glue the joints in place once it's posed and lock it down, and then start adding clay on top of it to do the sculpt. So having bucks that you start from is kind of standard, and I got no problem with it. None. You know, it's like, it partly because, you know, it's like I have some things that are bucks I've created that I use for my own stuff. You know, like sometimes I start from my own figure bucks. So like just knowing that, I'm like, yeah, I make my own bucks. I can make my own. I could go start to finish, you know, without a starter if I wanted. You know, like I don't have the. I feel like some people assault that sort of thing with a kind of insecurity. They're like, oh, you're not like a real artist because, you know, you're not doing 100% of the work yourself. It's like, dude, this stuff is so low res. It's just helping me jumpstart past a bunch of grunty kind of stuff that I don't want to have to do, that, you know, that traditional artists, you know, of yesteryear probably had assistants. Like if they were remotely successful artists, they eventually had assistants and apprentices who they taught to do that grunt work. You know, so in a sense, it's really not that different. I want to move those eyes. I don't like those eyes being that far up. Also, yeah, I think I'll keep the tusks as a. I like the tusks. I'll keep them as an external skin element. Something that's coming out of the meat over here, the pushing off the meat and bone of the skull. So, you know, there was a piece that I did yesterday morning that had a variety of horns and things like that on it. And I think I mentioned yesterday I really should have just made those separate, pressed them in, and left them alone. So that's something I'm going to do here relatively soon. Sometimes if I'm using the snake hook, we need to turn that sculptress mode off, because it will just yield some weird things. All right, I'm digging that. Digging that quite a bit. Nice. Sean signed up for the mailing list. Cool. Anyone who hasn't, what are you waiting for? Go sign up. Get on the list. Let's see. still have a lot of the pigginess of this guy going on, which I guess is okay, but kind of want to veer off from it and create something that's a little more unique than just being a big pig dude. I like that. I love the way that clay buildup brush, if you know the flow of the anatomy, it just puts muscle striation in right there, right off the bat. That's so handy. Let me get some nice sort of skin pulls there. It does need some more volume on the backside. Yeah. He needs a butt. Let's put a butt on him. Big old pig booty. Let's see. Interesting. Okay. Let's come in and start cutting some things. Kind of a weird process, I guess, where it's like I'll start by building volumes, and then once the volumes are built, then you start removing. It's like add, subtract, add, subtract. Okay. Might need to bring some more volume back to that. I know, a couple of the folks who join us pretty regularly in chat are artists themselves. So I would say, if you're an artist or creative of any type, writer or whatever you do, man, you're more than welcome to like pop a link into the chat or the comments, and we'll share that stuff with anybody who's coming along. I ain't greedy, Make this a place for many, many different people. Man, I'm so tempted to just like go nuts with like some crazy long ears. Just to give it something weird, something different. Mm-mm-mm. I don't like how long that tail is. I want a shorter tail on it. Mm-hmm. And let's go in here, pull more of a throat in there, and start shaping this inner mouth. I feel like the body on this, I mean, it is very, very boar still. So if anyone wants to toss out any ideas for some things to do to sort of make it more of a unique fantasy type creature, it could still be kind of a pig, you know, something from a pig family of sorts, but just different. I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts where they'd like to see something like this go. I like the mean pig. Ooh, I wonder. Bony plates sounds interesting. So, yeah, Sean out in the chat said bony plates. Kind of like the sound of that. Let's go ahead and put some spheres in here to hold the eye areas. Give us, you know, a little reference. Okay, let's turn that back on. Let's see. Sorry if I get a little quiet right here. Just you know, sometimes you get going on a sculpt and draws you in, you know. It's kind of cool that way. Okay. Sometimes when you guys see a stroke and then you see it just immediately repeat itself like that, it's because in ZBrush, like if I draw a line right here like that, and then I hit 1, I can keep hitting 1 and it'll repeat that last stroke. Sometimes I want something to be a little more pronounced. I'll repeat it a couple times. All right, I'm going to go ahead, while I'm thinking about it still, pop these tusks off so they can become their own mesh. I like having things not be pushed into like the final sculpt, like separate meshes are just embedded in each other. But sometimes, at least in the concepting stage, it's useful to break things away. Here I'm just going to mask off some of this, kind of following the contours I'd have sculpted there. And then I hit Control W, that makes a poly group out of that. And Control E a couple times to extrude it, which it doesn't actually extrude it because I don't have any displacement on there, but it does add edge loops around the bottom of the shape. And then we will split Eden. And come in here and close the holes on that. There we go. So now we should have polygroups. Yes, polygroups for that. If I just Alt click in the middle of one of those, then I should be able to then use my transpose, Control click on that axis and pull that out like so. And going to collectibles and things for resin printing, this actually, I might actually keep this like this if I want to eventually have this be something that I use as a print to offer folks, because I could print, I could separate certain elements like the tusks, have the print separately, but then have the head be socketed in the tusk area so that they glue in and give this nice definition between them, and also alleviate some of the issues with that come up in setting up supports. So now let's close these holes and Control E to extrude them a couple times. And then mask them and then invert the mask. And I'm going to extrude these in a few times. And blur my mask. Let's turn off sculptor's mode for that for the moment. Okay. Here I'm just going to inflate around that area and then smooth it out a little bit. There we go. There's a whole process that I would go through to make these an exact fit going into you know, separated pieces for resin. It's not a difficult process, but it's one I'm not going to cover right now, just because we're really not even at that stage, if that were what we were going to do with this. Okay, I'm really digging that. Let's do some stuff with the inside of the mouth here. Go ahead and start getting some shape built up for gums and dentition. Okay. Now let's paint some masking for those. There we go. Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. Ah, yes. That's the other benefit there about having those tusks broken off. So I can hide them and actually see some of the other areas I need to work on. So I'm going to pull some trickery this morning with this dentition too. So I've got my top gums roughly defined right here. Let's drag. If I have a transpose tool and I alt click and drag, then it'll average from the first point that I click to the second. That's kind of cool. Then I can control click and create a clip plane on that. So I can kind of get that stuff relatively planar, which is going to change in the end, but for now, you know, that's going to help me control what I'm doing here. So let's go a little further with that. Can do that. Now I'm going to break that off. Okay. So then here, let's go through with a slice circle. I'm going to work from this side. Unfortunately, the slicing tools do not carry symmetry. 2, 3, 4, 7 and 8. 7 and 8. Probably, yeah. That's what I was afraid of right there. Okay, that's fine. Let's just move this over a little too far. Not far enough. There we go. So now we've got some symmetry on there. And then let's take this, isolate it, throw some edge loops around the outer edges of it. And then we'll do an inflate on that. And then there you're going to see that it comes back with more of that gum sort of shape. Okay. Now then, let's take the inverse of that, group it together, throw a couple edge loops on it, smooth it. I'm going to come in, subtracting my selection by 1. And now let's just pull all these shapes out of here. Let's polish them a little bit. Now inflate them. And we can start smoothing these back. And take a clip plane to them. See how very, very quickly we can get some crazy cool teeth shapes. It'd be nice if I did that the right direction. Oh, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? Getting ahead of myself. All right, let's, I want to shape these teeth a little bit more, so let's delete by symmetry. Should still have my masking there, so I can take my move topology and bring this down. I don't want to cross that center line, so that's important. So I'm going to inflate this stuff a little bit and then make sure that I clip that back past that center line. So now I'm going to find a nice angle here and clip off the front of these incisors so that they have a bit of a slope going up this way. And then I'm going to do the same thing in a different direction right here. So now they have that kind of a slope. Now we'll just do a little bit of smoothing across those. Now let's gnarl them up a little bit. Make sure that guy stays across that center line though. I don't want him to fuse with his counterpart once it comes over and mirrors. So then let's add a little jagginess somewhere. All right. Then I'm going to auto group those so that I can isolate them and work on each tooth if I need to. Yeah, that needs to curve this way. Just add a little resolution to it. It's all going to end up getting Dynameshed and retopoed at some point anyway. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's funny. Some of the recent sculpts I've been doing on the stream here, I've allowed myself some freedom on teeth, but I typically am very anal about teeth and dentition. It's one of those things you don't think about, but when you see a fantasy or horror or sci-fi creature whose teeth look believable, it sells the creature so much better than not, than if it doesn't. To me, it's like, it's one of those things. It's like, if you get it right, nobody notices it, even though they actually do, and they never say anything. But if you get it wrong, people will be like, dude, what's wrong with teeth on that? It's like the better the job you do, the less it's noticed. Which kind of sucks. All right. Now then, let's mirror and weld that. We need to pull a little bit of that right there over. There we go. So now we can go back into in here with some symmetry. And I'm going to inflate these so the gap closes up there a little bit. Then I'm going to H polish. Okay. So it's pretty decent dentition for a creature like this. Pop over in the chat real quick, see if anyone wants to say anything. Okay, cool. Oh, that's fine. And so now let's take a look at this in context of everything else. Okay. Very much digging that. Let's go ahead and close off the big hole up here. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, okay then. Let's do this then. Let's put edge ring around that. Okay. And then we can come in here and just grab that. I really don't care about having it closed off. I just wanted this pulled up a little bit so that we can have some breathing room for pushing this into this mesh and for creating the bottom teeth, which we're about to do. So let's control click and drag so that I make a duplicate of all that. Okay. Then I'm going to turn off my symmetry. Hold my shift key as I drag on that rotation. And I want this to have an underbite, so let's go there with it. Let's adjust this a little bit more. Okay. Now we can go back to symmetry. Pull some of this out a little bit. That creates a dentition that should match up pretty well. Now let's go back to the underlying critter and start pulling some of this stuff up. We don't have holes there. That's good. I like that gnarly mouth. Okay. Okay. Pardon me. All right, let's go back to those teeth. I'm going to move these back a little bit. Not really liking how that's going. Yeah, just that little proportional change right there I like much better. Alright, we do need to close some holes on this. That way that doesn't relax away wrong. I am digging this. I am digging this a lot. That head is way too big for that body, though. That's more like it. And let's stretch this out a little bit. Alright. I may bail on this today before I finish out the body, but I do really like this head. I like this head a lot. I think that is going to become something. I do like the idea of doing something like this that's scaly, because usually when you see these pig, like, you always, it's kind of a trope, and I get it, you know, to see like the wargs that are these sort of wolf pig hybrid creatures used by orcs, and that's fine, you know, but I like to do things that are a little different. Always like to do things that are just a little different. Because that's fun, you know. If I want the same old thing, then I can always get the same old thing. But I want to do something that's different. Oh. Mm-mm-mm. Mm. Might seem kind of extreme on those tips on the ears, but I am going to dial it back just a touch. But I do like where that's going. Really do. Ooh, hoo, hoo. Right. Collect that stuff around the eyes. A little bit more going on here. Now. I'm going to pull one of these off of here. And then treat this as a place to build up some feet real quick. Am I going to go piggy with it? Am I going to stay piggy? Hey, Janice is on. That's my honey. She my girl. She gonna marry me. Oh, let's see. I want to look up something real quick. You guys can't see it, but I got a browser open, and I'm just gonna look for images of boar. Well, let's see. Let's see. Wild boar foot. There we go. There we go. I just need to see a little something, you know. Ooh, polydactyl wild boar foot. That's neat. That's really neat. So, yeah, that's wild. I kind of dig that. Pairs of cloven hooves on it. Okay, that's super slick. It's kind of foul, but not, and I really dig that. Oh yes, yes. Direction has been found. Onward, onward, me droogies. Okay, now let's just clip this baby off right about y'all. Yep, we're gonna do that. Now then, let's grab a mesh balloon. Every time I see mesh balloon and I say mesh balloon, in my head I hear Luftballon, like the song from the 80s, 99 Luftballons. And I like that song. And every time I use the mesh balloons in my head, I'm like, 99 mesh balloons. It's so stupid. I know it's so stupid. That's what my world is. My world is just full of goofy goofy crap. No. So we need this one to... Here's where we need this to go. Okay, there. Nice. God, something about that polydactyl cloven feet is just creepy. I love it. All right. And here, close up those holes. Kill. Oh, I like this foot. It's weird. It's very weird. There we go. Get some more wrinkles going on. That's super cool. I really like that. I like that a lot. I even like the proportion of that. Wow. Excuse me. All right. Let's pull that to the front. Like so. Then we're going to merge down onto that. And then let's Dynamesh. Okay. Well, I need to go in here and give a little more space in these because I don't want those to completely close up. Got to boost that resolution. There we go. Okay, I can live with that. Now let's beef these legs up. Let's put some calves on this baby. Calves on this piggy. Yeah, like it. It's funny, sometimes you'll fixate on an area and it'll feel like you're not getting anything done almost, you know, like it's just grinding away on something. But then you come back out and see it in context and realize how far it's put you, how much closer it's put you towards having a finished product. Let's just give him a little split down the crevasse. Pig butt. Pig butt. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. I'm actually getting closer to a full shape, full figure concept on this than I thought I would. Really digging that. This is actually becoming far more enjoyable than earlier on. I find that happens a lot too. You get into doing a concept, and maybe it's not quite turning you on, and then at some point, if you just kind of stick with it a little bit, at some point you'll find something that's like, hey, wait a minute, this is pretty cool, and then you want to keep going. I know there was a point not long ago where I was distinctly ready to just kind of be like, well, that's it for today, folks, and bail on it. But I don't know. I think the quad cloven hooves really set me off. Yeah, there we go. I really like this now. I like the piggy dude. Just out of curiosity, I have not played with Mesh Project, so let's see what this will do. Well, that's wild. So if we wanted to do the scale thing on it, like we were talking about earlier, let's see what we can get here. Okay, I don't like how truncated that curve is, so I bet we can play with that. That is interesting. Yeah, let's turn that lazy radius down. That's much more kind of thing I'm looking for. I wonder, how do we control the depth on that? Wonder what that does. Yep, that's what I thought. Z-Ed. Nice. Well, that's a new tool for me that I have not explored yet. And that is very cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I am thoroughly digging that. That really opens some interesting things up. So let's just make sure that stuff all gets grouped together so it's easier to deal with. Sean says Les was bored until he discovered he had a warthog hoof fetish. Ew. Ew. I'm really digging this whole plated look on a pig type creature. That's something I've never seen before, and it's an interesting idea. Yeah, that's very interesting to me. Let's see how that reacts when we go through and do some sculpting over it. Actually, let's just go through here and auto group that. And then split that off. So now we have it as a separate thing. We could do some sculpting on it. Yeah, this is potentially quite tasty. I'm just going to do some scribbles on this. And then come back and smooth them out here in a second. It's got a neat look to it. Really does. I am kind of digging it. Oh, nice. Nice. So it does project through all the subtools. So now that I have this busted off into its own subtool, I can come in here and just keep piling these in. That's really cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow, I like that. That's so handy. Yeah, that is super cool. Now I can use the sculptress mode to like chunk it up and dial it back a little bit. Yeah, that's super cool. Let's get a little separation in here on some of this. That's okay. Man, I could spend all day on this now. This has really opened up some thoughts. And that's cool. Yeah, I really am enjoying this. I'm just curious. No, it just stays locked down. So let's go to, let's see what else there is. Project. Let's see what this guy does. It does funky stuff is what it does. Let's change that. Oh yeah, nice. Nice, nice, nice. I dig it. We just gotta fix this garbage. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah, this is starting to get into the space that I'm looking to be in with a lot of new creatures and such, you know. It's, just really pushing some boundaries, getting into some really truly imaginative stuff, you know. Yeah, this is nice. This is real nice. Oh, that's got a lot of resolution there, doesn't it? All right, fine. We'll just auto group it. And then we'll merge similar groups and we'll grab that. So, oop, wrong way. Let's bring this down here. Rotate it that way. Oh, Lord. Yeah, that can go away. That's a leftover. Yeah, there was a reference to whichever dinosaur that was. I thought, wouldn't that be neat? Do something roughly along those lines with Mr. Piggy here. Hmm. I'm digging that. Really digging that a lot. That's got a wild look to it. Derp. Wonder if you can use a regular dot with that. Oh, wait, no, you can't. Of course not. That makes sense because it's projecting. Derp. Pardon me. Now let's rough that stuff up with some Sculptress mode. I like that. I like having that stuff around the face. Kind of ties this stuff back together. Mm. Yeah, I'm really happy with this now. Really. Quite happy with it. Let's turn on some subdivision on that just so it smooths out. I am going to call it. I'm going to say, that's our quickie concept for this morning. Say quickie, but I ended up spending a little more time on it than I intended to. But, yeah, this will definitely get revisited. You can bet on it. You can bet on it. Let's run our morning turntable. 600 frames with 3 spin cycles. All right. That's fun. That's just a fun looking critter. Like I also like that, like looking at it with the big spikes on the back and everything. I don't feel beholden to make him something people can ride. I have a bad habit of that. I think it's mostly because of so much stuff I make is for Daz Studio, and people like for their human characters to be able to interact with the creatures, and probably the most common way of interacting is using them as a mount. So I tend to make a lot of things that can be used as mounts, but I like that this guy just isn't. He's not. He is not a mount. He is not friendly. You are not going to pet him and ride him. You are going to stay away from him, or he's going to gore you to death. And I like that. I really like that. This would be an interesting piece to add fur to, so that there's like some hair coming out from between the plates. Maybe the plates are actually hair, like they're the chitinous material of hair coalesced together into hard surfaces. It's an interesting way to think about it. And I love the dual cloven toes on all the feet. There's something very anime feeling about this guy too. I think I might have been channeling a little bit of influence from having recently watched some of Princess Mononoke again. So I love Miyazaki films. And I could see there being a little influence from Miyazaki in this guy. So, let's cancel that. Swing him around here. Let's get a quick render. Nice. Yeah, that came out far cooler than I thought it would, and it didn't. Got maybe an hour on it. I really didn't get started until about 9:30, so 9:30, 10:30, little over an hour. Yeah. So that's not bad for an hour's work concepting. All right. Let's pop back over to the chat real quick. John says still could be a Klingon or orc pet. Or a mount for wee savage fairies in a double basket. Oh God. That's actually a great idea. That is goes totally radical, he says, a savage fairy. That would be neat. That would actually be a lot of fun for me to do as a character piece on the human figures, is to do like savage fairies. I'm gonna hold on to that. That's got potential. I like that thought, man. I like that thought. All right. Well, that is going to bring it to a close for today. Pop back over here. Thanks to everyone for joining. Everyone who watches as a rewatch, watches after the fact. I appreciate you checking things out. Hope you dig the art and stuff that you see here. Hope it's entertaining, relaxing, something cool. I don't know. Anyway, going to be taking off, so thanks for hanging out. Everybody who was hanging out in the chat, Sean, really appreciate all the interaction there. That's super cool. Really helps spur some ideas and get something neat going. As always, remember, like, share, subscribe, ring the little bell, ding-a-ling, and go to Sixus1.com and sign up for the mailing list. So today is Friday, so until Monday, I bid you au revoir, my dear people.